7 centuries ago, this valley held a city of miracles. A labyrinth of canals and temples where priests charted the cosmos in blood and starlight, where warriors dueled atop pyramids to feed the sun itself. Today, those sacred waters flow as sewage beneath traffic-clogged streets, and the gods of warhawk tacos from food carts. Mexico City is no ordinary capital. It's a shapeshifter, a place where Spanish bell towers grow from Aztec rubble, where revolutionary graffiti stains glass towers housing crypto billionaires. Every inch of this sinking metropolis hides layers. Indigenous birthing stones beneath colonial convents, pre-Hispanic skulls under sushi bars, subway tunnels that reroute to avoid ancient tombs. This is where civilizations don't die. They pile up like geological strata waiting to be unearthed. Strap in as we peel back the layers of a city that cheats death and discover why its fight against the very earth beneath it could redefine the future of megacities. From its mythic founding to its battle against sinking into its own drained lakebed, Mexico City's history is a masterclass in survival. The Aztec Empire, 1325 to 1521. Tenochtitlán rose from a swampy lakebed, a Venice of the New World. The Mexica people built their island capital on Lake Texcoco using chinampas, floating gardens that fed 200,000 residents. Causeways linked the city to shore, while aqueducts carried fresh water from Chapultepec. At its heart stood the Templo Mayor, where priests sacrificed thousands to appease Huitzilopochtli, the sun god. The city's zoo held jaguars and quetzal birds. Its markets traded in obsidian and cocoa beans, and its astronomers tracked celestial movements with precision that rivaled Europe. Yet this glittering city-state would meet steel-clad strangers from across the sea. The Mexican people weren't the first to build here, but they mastered the unstable terrain like no others. Guided by the prophecy of an eagle clutching a serpent, they founded Tenochtitlan on Lake Texcoco's islands in 1325. Using chinampas, floating gardens made from mud and reeds, they grew maize amid waterways that doubled as defensive moats. Their great temple rose 200 feet, its twin staircases slick with the blood of sacrificed warriors meant to nourish the gods. Markets traded in jade from Guatemala and parrot feathers from the rainforest, while astronomers tracked Venus's path with precision that would shame European stargazers. Yet, this aquatic wonder contained fatal flaws, a dependence on tribute states, and a ruler, Moctezuma II, who hesitated when strange ships arrived in 1519. If this video inspires you, hit like, share, and subscribe. Then add a comment on which city you want us to explore next for more adventures around the world. Spanish conquest, the fall of Tenochtitlan, 1521. Hernán Cortés conquered Tenochtitlan through cunning rather master. Mentibses' 500 conquistadors exploited a perfect storm. Tlaxcalan warriors eager to break Aztec dominance joined his ranks, while smallpox, an invisible army, decimated half the city's population before the first cannon fired. Moctezuma's fatal hesitation, wondering if these pale strangers were indeed the returned god Quetzalcoatl, gave Cortés precious time to strengthen his position. The 93-day siege transformed Lake Texcoco into a graveyard. Spanish brigantines bombarded the causeways, while Aztec canoes launched desperate ambushes from reed thickets. When the last defenders fell and Emperor Cuauhtémoc surrendered from a lone canoe, Cortés ordered not just conquest, but erasure. The Spanish dismantled Tenochtitlan stone by stone, forcing surviving Aztecs to rebuild their sacred capital as a European city. The metropolitan cathedral rose from the ruins of the Great Temple, its bells replacing ritual drums. Spanish nobles constructed palaces around the Zocalo, while indigenous survivors were banished to Tlatelolco's margins. Most devastating was the systematic draining of Lake Texcoco. a decision that transformed an aquatic empire into a landlocked colonial capital. This erasure of the city's watery heart would create an engineering nightmare that haunts Mexico City to this day. Colonial Phoenix, 1521 to 1810. For 3 centuries, Mexico City served as the glittering engine of Spain's global empire. Silver from Zacatecas' mines, stamped into coins at the royal palace, bankrolled wars from Flanders to the Philippines. Indigenous artisans, forced to rebuild their own raised capital, secretly wove Aztec symbols into Baroque churches. Feathered serpents coiled around Santo Domingo's golden altars, maze motifs hid in cathedral frescoes. The Zocalo Plaza became a stage for colonial power, hosting bullfights where Aztec ball courts once stood and auto da fe burnings of heretics under the same skies that once witnessed human sacrifices. Yet beneath the gilt surface, fractures spread. Spanish-born elites dined on Chinese porcelain in trajes de luces, while mestizo vendors sold tamales to enslaved Africans hauling volcanic stone. The lake, though drained, refused to be tamed. The 1629 flood submerged the city for 5 years, drowning colonial pretensions in a chilling echo of Tenochtitlán's aquatic past. By 1808, when Napoleon imprisoned Spain's king, Criollo intellectuals in Tacuba's cafes sipped chocolate laced with sedition. Their whispered debates over Rousseau and revolt in the Academia de San Carlos's halls would soon erupt into revolution. Turmoil and transformation, 1821 to 1910. Mexico's hard-won independence in 1821 unleashed a century of identity crises. The ghost of Miguel Hidalgo, 1810 cry. Death to bad government haunted a nation lurching between chaos and dictatorship. In 1847, US Marines stormed the National Palace during the Mexican-American War, their muddy boots defacing murals of the Virgin of Guadalupe as they looted silver candlesticks. Emperor Maximilian's later attempt to graft Paris onto the Andes saw the construction of Paseo de la Reforma, a boulevard lined with European lampposts where Aztec skulls once rolled. By 1900, Porfirio Diaz's iron-fisted Porfiriato regime painted a veneer of progress. Electric trams rattled past Baroque churches, telephone wires crisscrossed above tenement slums, and French chefs served escargot to elites in the basilica's shadow. But beneath the centennial celebrations of 1910, a spectacle of fireworks and forced indigenous dances, Marxist pamphlets circulated in textile factories. In the catacombs beneath the Zocalo, revolutionaries stockpiled rifles, ready to trade Diaz's European fantasies for Zapata's cry of Tierra y Libertad, Revolution and Rebirth, 1910 to 1985. When Pancho Villa's revolutionaries stormed the Zocalo in 1914, their horses trampling the cobblestones where Aztec emperors once paraded, they didn't just shatter windows, they smashed 3 centuries of colonial hierarchy. Diego Rivera captured this seismic shift in murals that transformed Mexico City into an open-air manifesto. At the Bellas Artes Palace, indigenous farmers shouldered rifles beside steelworkers, while the National Palace's walls depicted pre-Hispanic gods embracing Marx and Lenin. But progress came drenched in blood. Days before the 1968 Olympics showcased Mexico's modernity with the Torre Latinoamericana skyscraper, soldiers slaughtered hundreds of students at Tlatelolco Plaza, a massacre buried beneath Olympic fanfare. The city's resilience faced its ultimate test in 1985, when a 8.1 magnitude earthquake shattered the illusion of stability. Collapsing hospitals and government buildings killed 10,000, exposing concrete infused with corruption instead of steel. Yet from the rubble emerged an unyielding spirit. Citizens formed human chains to rescue survivors, their volunteer brigades laying the groundwork for today's grassroots movements. Mexico City's rebirth wasn't painted in Rivera's bold strokes, but in the sweat of ordinary people rebuilding their metropolis, one fractured brick at a time. Modern metropolis, 1985 to today. Mexico City today is a living paradox, straddling ancient survival tactics and 21st century chaos. Beneath the Angel of Independence's golden wings, LGBTQ+ pride marchers wave rainbow flags while mothers of murdered women chant "Ni una más" into megaphones. In Condessa's Art Deco corridors, Oaxacan chefs serve grasshopper tacos next to sushi bars plating edible gold. A collision of pre-Hispanic grit and neoliberal glitter. The city wages war against itself. Engineers pump concrete into the sinking Metropolitan Cathedral, its 450-year-old bell towers tilting like drunkards as the drained lakebed swallows 20 inches of elevation annually. Water trucks stalk neighborhoods where 10 million ration contaminated tap water, while engineers revive Aztec chinampa farms to filter rainwater through reed beds. Innovation blooms in the ruins. The Museo Sumaya's futuristic curves, 16,000 mirrored hexagons, shelter Rodin's The Thinker alongside colonial-era religious art. Even failed ambitions transform. The cancelled $13 billion airport project is now a 12,000-acre ecological reserve where engineers test Aztec-inspired floating gardens to recharge aquifers. Meanwhile, in Xochimilco's canals, farmers pilot solar-powered trajineras, flat-bottom boats, to tend floating crops as their ancestors did. This is a metropolis where blockchain coders hack into colonial convents and subway riders pass murals of Zapata, holding an iPhone proof that Mexico City's greatest skill is absorbing the future without erasing its past. Future, sinking giant, rising innovator. Mexico City's survival now hinges on merging ancestral wisdom with cutting-edge tech. The cancelled $13 billion airport, once a symbol of disconnect, transforms into a 12,000-acre ecological reserve where engineers test Aztec-inspired chinampas, floating gardens, to recharge aquifers, blending ancient lake management with drone-mapped reforestation. Above the sinking Centro Histórico, AI systems monitor the basilica's tilt in real time, while directing solar panel drones to map fissures in the drained lakebed. Vertical farms climb colonial-era facades, growing drought-resistant maize using hydroponic tech derived from pre-Hispanic irrigation. Below ground, the metro's new Line 15, built with Japanese seismic dampers, ferries coders past tunnels where Jaguar warrior artifacts halt construction. The 2021 Line 12 collapse, which killed 26, sparked a citizen-led audit movement demanding infrastructure that serves all 2 million residents, not just the wealthy. As climate chaos intensifies, the city that once mastered lake living now pioneers solutions. Recycled wastewater flows through restored Aztec canals to fight shortages, while zero-emission electric buses glide past murals of Quetzalcoatl clutching a smartphone. The future here isn't about stopping the sink. It's about building a metropolis that adapts, layer by layer, just as it has for 700 years. Mexico City's greatest lesson? Survival isn't enough. Evolution is non-negotiable. Tenochtitlán's canals became sewers, then subway tunnels. Spanish churches birthed revolutionary murals that now backdrop TikTok dances. Earthquakes topple towers, but never the spirit of 22 million souls who rebuild atop 7 centuries of layered history. Volcanic ash, conquest gold, and the bones of those who refuse to vanish. This city survives because its people remember the atole sipped by Aztec children, the crack of Spanish whips, the bullet holes in Tlatelolco's walls. Now it's your turn. Comment below. Would you brave the Aztec market's obsidian blades or sip artisanal mezcal in Roma Norte's jazz bars? Share this saga with fellow history addicts. And remember, every view resurrects the past. Every like fuels our next descent into the shadows where empires rise and fall. But cities outlive us all. Got your own favourite Mexico City moments, or an idea for which city to explore next? Share them in the comments. And if this video inspires you, hit like, share and subscribe for more adventures around the world. See you next time.